Check podcasts.
The Bread and Butter Collective is a collection of hospitality professionals working together to help strengthen our industry to build strong culture, community, and sustainability.
I'm Kalen McNeil.
And I'm Sam Jones. And this is the Bread and Butter Podcast.
Welcome to the Bread and Butter Podcast. How are you, Sam?
I'm doing great, Kalen. It's a sunny day. It was cold yesterday, brilliant today.
I know.
I'm feeling it.
Sales are always down when the weather changes.
Yeah, it was a real slow day yesterday.
Yeah.
And I went to a pal's place and he was like, "Where's all the customers?"
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
And it's nowadays with the weather, the temperature changes. Like you can be at 30 degrees and then next day you're at 16, which is just, not fun.
See, I've always said that climate change is bad for business, and that's why.
Well, okay,
It's
we're
the
going to get
only
into that.
reason.
We're going to get
It's
into
the
that.
only reason.
But you know what we're going to get into today? We've got a wonderful guest, Luke Murray from
Oh,
Aryze, who's a polarizing figure, I would say. And he's a developer. Is he a developer? Luke, would you describe who you are?
I'm sorry. This is a podcast. I thought we were here for free burgers.
Good morning.
This is how we trapped you. Hey, Luke, meet me down at Czech. We got some food. We're going to do some sampling. It's a cooking show.
No, I would not describe myself as a developer. I would say Aryze is a collection of entrepreneurs.
Oh, I
and
like that.
we express ourselves through the built form, but we're not.
But I guess the town's perception of you is that you're a developer.
Sure.
Right? Which is not true.
Well, we do
You
real
facilitate.
estate. Yeah, we do real estate development for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that is it's just one dimensional.
Yeah, it misuses it and it kind of characterizes you in a way that puts you in a box, right?
Yeah, I think that term developer is often affiliated with a workflow that's very singular.
Yeah.
But we don't see our buildings as just like real estate. They're meant to be facilitation of something different in a neighborhood, because like these are homes we're talking about, not units. And buildings can do more. I think how we interact with our city, the things we love about our city, all of it is related largely to the built form or the absence of it. And so developers play a really key role in the city, but that term has just been, it's a very polarizing term.
And it's polarizing for good reason, isn't it? I mean, not all developers are created equally.
Yeah, just like all baristas aren't created equally.
No, they're not.
Yeah, all restaurateurs are created equally.
No, they are not. So you guys are a B Corp, right?
Yeah.
And so you give back. Part of your mandate is to be more conscientious in how you move your business ahead and you develop properties. What does a B Corp have to do with making a lot of money in the development industry?
Who says we make a lot of money? I think we're the best nonprofit, for-profit developer in the city.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's nice.
No, B Corp is, so during COVID, I have a story. It's like 90 seconds.
No, I love
Okay?
it. No, we got as much time as you need.
All right. So during COVID, we, Ryan and I, one of my late business partners, I have two business partners, Matthew and Ryan. Ryan passed away from a brain tumor a couple of years ago at the ripe age of 41, which is very sad. It's very fast. So COVID was like the last time we had together. And so before his health stuff, we just did this deep dive online, looking at design, other developers. And we found this firm down in Melbourne called Milieu. And we're just totally fanboyed out on them. Like they're just amazing. And then one day we're like walking with our kids, because we have a lot of kids in our company actually. And we got an email from Michael McCormick, and he's like, "Hey, Aryze, I've been following you guys, and we want to connect online and just like talk shop." And so it's that moment when like your crush has a crush on you.
Yeah.
And so we connected online, and essentially we're like, "Hey, we found each other. There's got to be other people out there."
Yeah.
And so we went out and found a couple other developers and kind of started this consortium called Building Better Cities. And we've since have met in our prospective cities. So like the first year we went to New York City to meet, there's four of us in this collective. And then we went to Edinburgh and London to meet the other group, Parabola. And then we went to Melbourne to meet with Milieu. And then this coming May, they're all coming here. So we're going to tour them around Victoria
incredible.
Cool.
and eat Big Wheel and drink some mediocre coffee at 2% Jazz.
So okay.
You deserve that. I'm setting him up.
I set you up for a positive response.
No, and the point was,
It was only not a 90-second story, right?
yeah. No, the point was essentially is learning from these different groups. We realized that they're all B Corp certified. We're not, but we're doing the same things.
Yeah.
And we're just not tracking any of them. And so we just kind of set out to just track these things that we're already doing related to affordability, sustainability, equality, empowerment, these kind of things that B Corp stands for. And we scored like enough to get certified just on our existing stuff.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't so much how do we get B Corp certified, is how do we like actually start tracking the things we're not tracking that we're already doing to get a higher score and to just see how we stack against our peers. So I think it could be different now, but when we got certified, we're the only developer in Western Canada that is B Corp certified.
I believe that. Yeah.
There's some general contractors that are, but not development companies. So
Well, it's a shift of priority too, because you recognize it's an opportunity, but it also speaks to your values as well, right?
yeah, 100%.
I mean, I don't think you can I know that with Big Wheel Burger, we share a lot of the same values and how we operate our business, and we've done some charity work together and community work together. And I think that is, a business should kind of speak to the values that you have, which I guess is when we started with the evil developer kind of intro, is part of the problem is your business is a reflection of your values, and I think it should be. But then you've got the community's perception of that.
Yeah.
So that's where you struggle, or not you, Luke, struggle, but people would struggle in how you get your message across. How do you communicate in a way that resonates with people and they understand what your values are? And part of it is just walking the walk and not worrying about what people think, just doing it. And then the people that want to do the research or want to find out more will find you, and they will realize where the values lie. How do you find when you're dealing with these development stuff, and then the people that come to the council meetings and they're like, a lot of NIMBYism, I guess I would assume, also some fundamental community building or barriers, I guess, to community building in a lot of cases where they just kind of reject the concept of, let's add 2 more stories or 3 more stories, or I'm going to do this park that, I don't want to park here because of whatever reason. Like, how do you balance your value system with what you have to go pitch at these council meetings?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about real estate is so fascinating is, like, we've done a lot of projects and I've done a lot of rezonings in my life, and it never ceases to amaze me how you can take what would normally be a lovely person in every other context of their life, and then you introduce a housing change into the equation, and they just become something they're not. And I don't know what it is. The farthest I've gotten is, it used to be, people just don't want change. And I disagree with that. I think people equate change with loss. And so it's a fear of loss that they're kind of mourning, which evokes this reaction. And I think developers have done a horrible job of communicating the benefits to housing, and we've only focused on the extractive components of it. And so that triggers this reaction, because it's out of this world how visceral some people will get. And then when they feel powerless in a process, they attack you personally. And that part's also very surprising, is just the level of personal attacks that I've been subjected to over things like a 3-stall parking variance or whatever a detail is. But it's unfortunate, because I think, again, I'm a firm believer that if you actually sat down and have a conversation, you'll probably find that you agree on like 85 to 90% of the things. But at the end of the day, we have to do our work. A city requires these things. And there's often just fundamental things you can't change, because there's realities to any business. And if someone came to you and was like, hey, I just want you to sell your burgers for half of what they are.
Yeah.
That's just There's
Maybe
no
he's just
common
out of
ground there.
business. Yeah.
And so you just can't, you can have a really friendly conversation. You can give them a free burger and say, thanks for your time. But like, I just can't do that. And then that act of saying no is translated into, well, you don't listen. I'm not
Yeah,
heard. So now I
yeah.
feel powerless and I'm going to attack you more.
Yeah. I think the attack part is interesting because as I've known you, and you've been a good customer of ours as well on the business side, but just seeing that sort of visceral stuff, and I think part of it is like, and we share this too, is we share our opinions, and we're not afraid to have those. You know, and Sam's, you're the same way. Like we'll just say what our views are without worrying about, you know, how it looks to the optics of it. For the most part, I think you have to be a bit careful in certain situations not to delve into certain topics, but generally, if
you don't want to be rude either, right?
well, you don't want to be rude. If somebody asks you a question, you want to answer it. But I also feel like if you just, you know, if you're given the time to explain your position, that's the other thing is like without getting ganged up on. And in this day and age of these snippets and this rage baiting that we see on social media, it's really hard to kind of show who you are or even have the time and space without getting dogpiled, which I think you've probably, I would argue that you've unfairly been dogpiled on certain items. Like, would you agree with that? Or
some things,
Yeah.
I will definitely say that early in our careers, we were, we poked the bear
yeah,
because we were trying to
create that conversation.
There was we weren't talking about housing in our city. For the longest time, it was this grand bargain of build super dense in the downtown and then don't touch anywhere else.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we produce these data sets that show that like it takes 29 units in a tower building to generate one kid, to generate one net new family, that household formation to form in by unit types.
Oh, interesting.
But it takes.
Sorry, I don't understand that. Maybe
We've created data sets using StatCan data and like built form data from the city on housing typology, custom tabulated by neighborhoods. And essentially what we've been able to figure out is how many units it takes of a particular housing type to generate a new family.
How do you generate a new family?
Well, bring a new family in or give them space to
households
live.
can only form into new spaces.
Okay.
So if there's no housing, you can't have household formation.
They wouldn't form here. They would form somewhere where there is
They
a
go somewhere else.
3-bedroom or
And
whatever.
so either that's families coming together that are net new through migration, or that's people having kids and then moving into new housing types, moving up the housing ladder into different types. But if you don't have displacement and you don't have formation, these households can't form. And so we can figure out what housing typologies, whether it's high-rise apartments, mid-rise apartments, townhouses, single-family homes, what generates the most amount of families, aka kids.
Okay.
And essentially what we found is in the between the census periods, only 3 neighborhoods generated any net new children. Every other neighborhood in Victoria lost kids except for Vic West, Harris Green, and downtown. And those were the only neighborhoods that actually were building meaningful levels of housing. So all of a sudden,
wow.
and this is the point.
Like, how is that information not being communicated?
Well, I mean,
Like,
we
I
hand
guess
it
it
over
is,
to the planners, and they've been using it for policies and stuff like that, and they have their own data sets. But that's the interesting thing was in a conversation, a round table with people that are opposed to housing or for housing, we'd all agree that families in a city is a good thing.
Yeah.
But where we disagree all of a sudden is, well, what if it takes building a townhouse on your block to have kids in the city? Oh,
No.
Why my street?
Yeah, not in my
And
neighborhood.
the curious thing that people always say is this is more appropriate there. But so what they're saying is I don't want it on my street because of negative impacts, but I'm perfectly fine with it over there. And if it actually has negative impacts, I'm fine pushing all those negative impacts onto somebody else.
Yeah.
And so this, I think, is part of the thing is that collectively we're not willing to pay the price to solve a problem. And so if the housing crisis is acute, it's going to require an equally aggressive solution to fix it. And so like you don't attack cancer with like a light touch or shift the problem somewhere else. You say we have to be aggressive about the solution, so let's tackle it together, and it's going to cost us all something.
Yeah. But the problem is we can't agree on the solution.
No.
Even though the evidence is saying what the solution is.
Yeah.
And historically, if we're building, those families are only growing in those neighborhoods. There's only so much space in those neighborhoods.
Well, there is none. That's the point.
Well,
It's like Harris Green downtown don't have parks. They don't have quiet streets. And
Yeah.
and so we're saying, oh, I want kids, but I only want them to grow up in high rises with no parks nearby.
Yeah.
Just save my tomato plants from getting shade on them. Like that's just not, as a
Well, it's not
society, that's
realistic,
not a fair trade to society. And
So is that what's the shift? Because obviously these communities have built out over time. So you look at the Fairfield and Uplands and all these different areas built out over time. Is it truly a shortage, or is it about supply? Like the supply mix is not right. Like we didn't.
both?
So both can be correct.
Yeah. I think the types of housing that we're building and where we're building them have been wrong, and it's being corrected, and we're seeing the evidence of that
Yeah.
now. But like, there's areas of Fernwood where building a townhouse generated 1.36 per unit, 1.36 kids per unit, like highly productive
Yeah.
homes to generate families. But for the longest time, those have been totally illegal to build in the city. And so we complain,
Which creates the problem that we found ourselves in
100%.
now.
And so as a developer, we come in with this information. And what do you do with that? Do you just say, you're right, your tomato plant shouldn't get shaded, so let's put a kid in a high rise away from parks just to make you happy? Like, if you have principles and values,
Which doesn't make sense.
or do you say, I have the evidence and the data to support what is right here,
Yeah.
and that there's a common good, and we're advocating for that common good?
Is that pretty new information, or is
Well,
that
we've been
something
talking about it
that-
for 10
that-
years.
that council is really conscious of, or do they care?
Oh, I
The
think they
Prairie
definitely
Council?
care, but I think like this council's already done the policy changes to make this better.
Yeah, to
Okay,
facilitate it.
But this was like, so when we came on the scene and really started, we weren't really acting like developers. We were acting like advocates,
Yeah.
because I'm an urban planner by training, so I'm taking like a data-based approach to this discussion, and I don't think people appreciated a developer acting like an advocate,
Yeah, that's so interesting.
and that's what rubbed people the wrong way.
Yeah.
And that's
Is it
what
because they
created-
didn't trust you because you are
I'm-
also a developer?
Yeah, I think because they thought, oh, you're benefiting from these policy changes, therefore they must be wrong. And so it's that whole notion of you can't actually love your job, make
Yeah.
a profit, and have values at the same time.
Mhm.
This is so
That's-
it's so interesting to have this discussion, because I think it's an important one. And it goes back to what we talked about your value system driving and dictating how you run your business and how you operate in your life. That's where the friction point is, because historically, and there's like every historic evidence, in my opinion, with businesses doing good is you can put them on one little tiny napkin of the ones that have done it like organically. You see these companies that are doing, we give this amount here and this amount there, but when you look at it as a percentage overall, and then what they do that takes away from it, like not paying living wages, not giving benefits to their employees, creating, work situations that are unsafe. I get why people are, not trusting historically, but how hard is it for the companies that are trying to do good to not be, and is it just, you just build your tribe and just keep doing what you're doing? How do we cross that? Like I thought when I started my foundation and did what I was doing, I would inspire others to do the same. And it's crickets. Even when it was the climate stuff, like doing the climate actions that we did early was super easy, but nothing happened. Like it's 15 years later. There's more now. There's regulation that's changed, which is good, the composting and whatnot. But that overall vibe of like doing business for good and building communities and driving your business in that way, so that you're making sure that the communities that you're in are ones you want to live in, that the staff can afford to live in it, and that you have, houses that people want to live in it. And then we're building families, because that's the future, which is frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we move the needle on that? Just keep doing it? Like it's lonely, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think if people actually looked into it, even those that are probably our detractors, on some level, you'd hope that they would respect the fact that we're sticking to our beliefs.
Yeah.
Even if they're in they're
There's some
friction.
Yeah,
There's
there's some
misalignment.
friction,
There's
yeah.
a dichotomy there with their view, but at the same time, we're doing what we believe in.
Yeah.
But it's always going to come back to, oh, you believe in it because you make money off of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but like we have like 85 staff. Our projects employ thousands of people
Yeah.
down a supply chain. And these are all like good union paying jobs, skilled labor. Like you should, from an economic and taxpayer standpoint, you should want us to be successful.
When you're building better buildings, arguably, like forget about the argument of whether that building's right for the neighborhood or not. Like you are building a building that's, you know, creating more tax base. You're employing people. And if you're doing it from a lens of what's better for the community, like regardless of what people think, like if that's what's driving you as a business person doing it, then I think that should be good enough. Like,
Yeah.
It's frustrating. I guess in our conversation, it's frustrating because it's lonely doing things. And then sometimes when you're getting the pushback, I do that with their foundation and people are like, what are you doing? You know, and I'm like, I could just not do it.
Yeah.
But even when you look at the economics of it, I'm like, how could I justify? Like the biggest upset when we closed it in an IMO store was the fact that we now weren't going to be donating money to the community in the way we did because we weren't in the community anymore. And when VHA shut down our food truck in North Nanaimo, that would have saved our South Nanaimo store. And they were just doing it for, I still don't know why. And I went all the way up the channel and I said, I don't care about our business. Like to me, it didn't matter. Like we'll go to another neighborhood and I'll be okay. But the fact that the community is going to be without the $2,000 a month we pour into food banks or give, Loaves and Fishes or, the hospice there, it's like, what are you doing? But if I stand out and say that, then it's like people, oh, you're just using that to do. And I'm like, no, man. Like
It's the same thing. I know on everything, no matter what good act you do, it's like, oh, you're just doing that to get that approval.
Yeah.
And you're like,
or to make money.
so I just not do it? Is that your preference?
Yeah.
So I just not do it then?
Yeah. That's the frustrating part. And even having this conversation, I feel is a bit.
Your blood temperature's going up. I can see it.
Well, my face is getting
That
red.
temple, that
But
vein
because
right
it's
there.
frustrating because even while I'm saying it, I'm like, well, it's going to sound like we're standing on a pedestal and we're better than people and we're judging. And it's not about that at all. It's about being passionate about what we believe in. And we build business models that can do that. And I think everybody should be doing it in some way, shape, or form. And how good would our community be if more people did it? And, we have a ton of business people in the city that are like-minded. And,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so how do we build on that? And also, how do we deal with the criticism of it? I guess you just don't give a shit.
Well, a great example is we did this project in Saanich on Normandy Road. And the first phase was 68 units, and we had like 30 parking stalls because we're next to one of the largest transit exchanges in Saanich. And it created some parking challenges on the street, and we can debate all day long whether someone owns the road in front of their house or not. Let's park that for a second. But so we did the second phase, which is 130 units, and we intentionally added a second level of parking, which is like a $4 or $5 million addition, just to add more parking to help so that the new building wouldn't contribute to what residents are telling us is an issue. And on Facebook, we're just getting blasted for like, oh, like this is going to bring so many more cars. And it's like, hold on a second. We just agreed that there's a problem
with the street parking.
with parking, and adding more is now going to add to the problem. So should we take it away? So it just, to me, it's just evidence that no matter what, like there's going to be the complaints. And so as a person with values, I just have to look to the broader pluralism that exists in society, the greater good, and just say, no, we're going to rise above. We're going to do the parking, and people will be mad no matter what. And I think that's at the end of the day, there's just a fixed group of people that are just always going to be unhappy.
Well, and it speaks to that change piece, and it's the loss, like you said. And I think that's a great way to look at it. It's not necessarily, people don't like change, but people don't like losing something that they feel like they have. And, it's like, moving is like is as stressful as a death, they say, like just moving your house. So if somebody's coming in your neighborhood viewed as an outsider, then all of a sudden now it's like.
On that point, what I find fascinating is this road is a short little road and there might be 40 homes on it. Our first building has more residents in it than the whole rest of the road combined. So by virtue, they're like the apartments on the street are the neighborhood now.
Right.
If we're just taking some silly numerical quantification of it.
They are the majority.
They are the majority.
Yeah.
And so you think they're going to vote against their own home's existence? Probably not.
Yeah.
And the next phase is going to, double. And so this idea of ownership over a particular area is problematic. Like, why should someone have veto rights over changes that happen on their street? Like, consultation's one thing, but
Yeah, the ability to
totally
end it
block
Yeah.
is
with no justification, no support from
Yeah.
the data, which is the other piece too.
Well, once you have the approval for a project, why do you care what people say on social media?
because I'm not a monster.
I mean, you're
Sam.
going to get people who are going to be approving of what you're doing, but you're also going to get the haters, right? I mean,
I think care might be the wrong word. I think I just have a hope for a
Yeah.
different
Oh, okay.
relationship, a different
That's
tone.
great.
Like there's just instead of getting online and being a keyboard warrior, it's like show up at our office,
Yeah.
sit down for a coffee, and just talk it out. Because
Well, and you're accessible. Like you can.
I used to host like these
Yeah.
meetings every Friday at our old office where I just had like blocked this off this hour and a half, which people would just drop in, and like 90% were opposition people. We'd sit down, and like almost every conversation was pleasant, ended with a handshake, and like I remember one guy showed up at a public hearing, and he's totally opposed to this project, and he's like, I came here tonight to oppose this project, but I met with Luke. He's actually a pretty nice guy. We got along great. I don't like the project, but I actually don't want to oppose him. I'm super not. I'm not totally in favor of this, but like Luke's a nice guy. So and then just sat down, and you're like, well, okay, but like,
Well, it's not removing the mask of the evil developer, right?
Yeah.
Which
And also when people have to talk about things face to face, it makes them have to think and
well, it's like
be-
anything in
be
society today. It's the
accountable for
same
their
thing.
words, right?
It's a microcosm of the bigger issue that we're finding ourselves in. Is it's so easy to post and do the hate. Now talk about partnerships, because I know the Normandy one, you did a partnership with that. There was a partnership involved. Could you talk about the people that were involved with that and the groups? Was there?
well, Normandy Road's actually an example of a partnership collapsing.
Oh my God!
No.
geez.
In the sense that
No.
we started off as having affordable housing in that project.
Yeah.
And it took us 5 years to get that project rezoned. And so during that timeline, we're like spending like $9,000 a month in interest holding costs on the land.
Wow.
Construction costs escalated by $12 million. And it just eroded. It started off as I was under the housing hub with BC Housing as 100% affordable housing, and now their income thresholds are probably they're not what we would call deeply affordable, but
Yeah.
it had a measure of affordability. It was more like kind of workforce housing, and it just kept dropping. And then by the time we got to council, we had nothing left to give. Like these
was done.
timelines erode processes.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the hate for that project was, oh, there's a bait and switch that you promised affordable housing and then you didn't deliver any. And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like if your costs escalated by tens of millions of dollars, I don't think that you could provide affordable housing either. So
well, it's doubling too, and because the process frustrated the timeline, it's like there's the business end of it as well, and I guess that's where you're never going to please the haters, because you're just feeding the fuel with it. It's like this started as affordable housing, now it's not affordable housing anymore. It's like, well, yes, but let's look at why it's not affordable housing anymore.
That whole process of taking 5 years to be for consultation, can you go through that and why it takes that long? And is there ways to make that shorter?
Saanich used to be a lot harder to work with than they are today. Like things have gotten dramatically better there. But that was just the planning process of the day. It's just you get stuck in these cycles of reviews where, parks would ask you to move a tree, and then you move the tree, you resubmit the drawings, and it goes through a new round of circulation to all the departments. And then all of a sudden, engineering says, "Oh, we don't like where that tree is because it conflicts with the stormwater line." So then you move the tree again, and then Park says, "Well, we don't want it there either," and you just get stuck in this death loop.
Yeah.
And these loops take months and years, and
once it's got to start again once you do it.
the
right?
recirculation of the drawings. And so it was just, we got stuck in one of these things, and we weren't at the position yet as a society where we kind of believed housing was a good thing. And so each department views themselves as kind of like the gatekeepers of the community good. We have to stop the developer from being extractive by demanding all these concessions. And so it just got eroded. And so, yeah, 5 years. But like our housing approval process back in the day, it's gotten better since some provincial legislation changes. But like imagine you want to open up a new coffee shop and city council gets to tell you like where it goes, how much you can charge for coffee, what kind of coffee you can charge, what your coffee shop looks like. Would you ever open up a coffee shop?
No.
Hell no. But
No.
that's housing approvals. You have all these people telling you every single aspect of it. And it's the politicization of housing when it should be an apolitical process. It should be an A plus B equals C outcome. Just go do.
Here are the parameters, and if you meet those parameters, then you get to build it.
And then layer on top of that, you got to satisfy all these community concerns, plus staff concerns, then political concerns, and it's just the process has sterilized the ability to deliver housing. Fortunately, we're past a lot of those things, but all of our affordable housing and partnerships that have collapsed over the years are all due to just these lengthy processes. But what aren't highlighted is all the other partnerships that we have delivered.
Right.
Like working with the Songhees Nation to deliver 64 homes, the first homes built on reserve for community members in 15 years. And we led that process for them. We had amazing people in the nation we work with to deliver that. Ross Terrace and Quadra Village, 100% affordable housing project. Sister project next door on Kings, 10% of that project is really affordable, great housing. Lots of employees in the neighborhood work in those and live in those homes. Fort Street has affordable housing. Catherine Street has affordable housing. 1702 Quadra that we're delivering has affordable housing. Most of the rental projects we deliver have affordable housing in it. I don't know of any other developers in Victoria that have delivered that much affordable housing as a part of their numerical projects. Instead of just saying, oh, this one building has a whole bunch, we have sprinkled it over a whole bunch of buildings so that people can have access to all these great neighborhoods. We also pioneered like an affordable home ownership program. And so we did that in James Bay, in Gonzales, where we sold these homes essentially at cost with a restrictive covenant that limits how much they can be resold in the future. So it's an affordable home ownership program. We have partnerships with so many nonprofits. We've delivered women's transition homes through local nonprofits. We have right of first refusal to the Intercultural Association of Greater Victoria to get into affordable homes, or employees of the Cridge. There's all these things out there that we don't broadcast a ton that we're just constantly pushing forward because we have some great operators in Victoria that are doing good work, and the built forms our expertise, and so that's what we want to focus and let them do their thing. But it's pretty sad if you have a group like the Cridge, which is one of the most amazing charities in our province that is older than the province itself, and they do unbelievable work with women at risk and other groups. And if they can't have staff because there's no affordable housing, that's a super freaking tragedy. And if they can't have staff because people are blocking and vetoing housing in their neighborhood, that's kind of on their hands now.
Yeah.
And that these great operators can't function because of neighborhood character issues. So we're kind of trying to act as that facilitator of broader housing goals for our communities.
Well, and that, speaks to, building that into your mission. You talk about the B Corp because that is a part of that too. So having that focus and that vehicle to do it. I know the city, correct me if I'm wrong, but the city tried addressing affordable housing by mandating a percentage of new builds have affordable housing, and then there's just no new builds done. So do you think the formula different now for that? Like when you're sprinkling it out, so if you have BC Housing, there's all these nonprofit, not BC Housing per se, but there's other nonprofits that deal with affordable housing and low income housing. Would it be better just to give them the money to build it? Or would it be better to mandate this idea that, you need to provide 10% of your housing affordable, or 50%, or whatever, or low barrier, low income, or whatever. What do you think the best model is?
Yeah, I think it's well intentioned. The issue with that program, the reason why it was revised, was a city requirement is often disconnected from the actual funding requirements.
Right.
And so the city have their own criteria, but the affordable housing, there's only two ways to make housing affordable. It's through a subsidy, which is either cash subsidy through low interest loans or grants from higher levels of government, or density. The city can approve for more density, which generates more profits, and then you can take those profits and subsidize affordability in that building. But they weren't doing that. They were just saying you have to do
They're
this.
mandating it
You're
without
without the bonus
Yeah.
per se. Not in the past, they fixed it now, but the problem was their criteria was different with what the federal government's criteria was. And so the federal government would look at these covenants on the title of the property and be like, that doesn't work for us. So we're not going to give you a loan. So now you can't get the money that you need to deliver the thing that you were required to deliver. So that's one part. The second part is administratively, it is complicated. Sprinkling 3 units, 5 units, 10 units across all these buildings. Who's managing it all?
Yeah.
And so, I was on the board of the Greater Victoria Housing Society, one of the larger nonprofit housing societies. I'm no longer. I was there for 6 years. They do amazing work, but it would be an administrative nightmare for them to manage all these sprinkled buildings. So instead, you're right. Just donate the money to them or other groups like Pacifica, Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Let them build the homes and have their own criteria because they can leverage that affordability to greater government grants. And so for every dollar that they get, they can leverage it to $2-3.
It's more efficient.
Way more efficient
Yeah.
administratively and grant-wise. So the focus should be, and like, I believe in delivering affordable housing, which is why we do it.
Yeah.
But in reality, we shouldn't be asked to do it. We should not be doing it. My preference would be that the federal and provincial governments absolutely 10x their investment in social housing.
Yeah.
That's what we should be doing.
Well, we used to be a leader in social housing, a leader where other countries, I think even England and United States was looking at adopting some of our social housing. And then in the 80s, with the rise of interest rates and inflation, the government just got out of that business. And it was probably the Conservatives that did it. But it was also not undone by any other government. And it's like any of that change really bothers me because they think they're doing it in a box in these 4-year election cycles, which are so frustrating because then, talk about managing all these sprinkled low income and low barrier housing around is how do you make sure that it still is low barrier housing over time, or does it just get wiped out? So you remove all this housing and all these government grants and funding and you end up with what we have now. And the social, the health outcomes, all of it. And to me, it stems right back from those earlier decisions to divest out of social housing, because you've got people now living on the street and self-medicating and no housing and all of that kind of stuff. But who do you scream at? How do you undo all of that? And I think you go back to what was working back in the day and you just heavily invest in it.
I mean, to some degree, we have to look at ourselves in that. And I know there's affordability challenges out there broadly, but our property taxes are some of the lowest in the country. And so what if, the Capital Regional District, they deliver, I grew up in CRD housing through CRHC.
Yeah, I did as well.
And it was look at us trauma bonding together.
Yeah.
They do a great service. And what if we, leveraged, a $2 per mill rate addition to the property taxes, and we could 3-4x the amount of housing they deliver. Why not? Why wouldn't we collectively bear that burden as a society? And it might be $150-$200 a year additional property tax on the average home, but then you're literally ending homelessness. You're creating affordable housing for generations. In my land economist brain, I cannot see how that would not pay itself back to society over the course of time.
So you're saying $2 to $3 per
Well,
$1
just,
million of
no, on whatever the mill rate is, but let's just call it $200 per year for the average household.
okay.
And just because then they can leverage that money to get further government grants through the CRD, and we could build a tremendous amount of housing. And what if that was just like a 5-year run?
Yeah.
Where it's just like for 5 years we're going to have this housing tax regionally, and then it goes away, but we're going to do some tremendous work with it.
Well, it feeds off itself too, because if you don't have housing, affordable housing in the community, and then you can't provide housing for workers, and then because part of the argument is that there isn't enough workers to build the housing that you need. So, which is kind of like, okay, our boat's sinking, but we're not going to fix it. Like, you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
You got to start plugging the first hole, then the second hole, then the third hole. But I think, from the government standpoint, and it's these election cycles that frustrate the hell out of me, because you need to remove certain things from the political, punting that happens. They just kick the football down there and they go there. Oh no, now I'm going to do this over here. And you get this, slingshot, and the outcomes is horrible because there's no consistency, and they're not building like healthcare, housing. All of these things are long-term. They shouldn't be short-term. They shouldn't be influenced by political juggling or what's the spirit of the day. Like, what do people want to do today versus, next week? And, housing and healthcare are to me, the two most important things. They also build community. They provide, good workers, good communities. You talk about, building these neighborhoods, right? Like, and why is all of, if you just focus on, oh, this is going to happen in this neighborhood and that's it, there's a capacity issue there. And why are all these other neighborhoods, why don't they build community too? Like, why can't they be better?
Yeah, if you focus housing like a fire hose in one area, of course it's disruptive.
Yeah.
Like, it should be like butter over toast.
Yeah.
Spread across the region.
Yeah. But you need the government needs to decide that this is going to be either a crown corporation that is apolitical, and housing should be apolitical. I think healthcare should be apolitical too, because they're the most critical functions and they're the easiest to screw up, right? Where all of a sudden now you make decisions in the 80s that have led to where we are today. And you can argue that with some of the climate change stuff too. Look at forest fires and forest management. Like, they've said they needed to invest $10 billion in forest management or we'd be where we are today. Fires everywhere. Like, just do what you say. It's like infrastructure building. If we don't do the infrastructure, like, we probably are 10 years or 15 years too late to do the infrastructure that we needed. Like, you're having, sewer systems collapsing and all this other kind of stuff. It's just deferring, right? Like, I think that kind of stuff needs to be managed way better. But I don't know.
Are you running for office? Is that
no? But it frustrates the hell out of me. And
that's what I respected a lot about Lisa Helps, and I know she took a lot of flack over the years, but she was one of the first politicians I met that just made decisions because they were right, not necessarily they were tied to her election outcome or her ambitions. She just believed in it, and whether you agree with it or not, you got to respect that.
Yeah, totally.
I don't care what your belief system is. If you stand by it and everything you do kind of drives that forward, I respect it. If I don't agree, that's one thing. But the people that just lit her on fire, I think it's so unfair. But we talk about, it's the same in anything you do. If you're actually doing what you believe, then you're going to be lit on fire. And it's a shame. It is. There's certain people that are, but you're also going to have your supporters. I know there's a lot of people that supported what she did, but it's controversial and it creates, a lot of broken eggs. But then you have all these rage baiters. So,
I know, but if you quantify, like, it is such a small group, though. I think just people are
that's
also,
in general, but even people that show up at council that are like they're a very small percentage of the population, but they're the loudest.
Yeah.
And they're the most impactful on your mental health. Like, if you're having to argue it and you're like, I'm just trying to do something good here, guys. Like, can we not just agree on that? Like, why does everything have to be so controversial and rage baiting?
So, Kaylin, join us next week for part 2 with Luke.
Part 2 with Luke.
Yeah.
We'll get into some, I don't know what we're going to get into.
We're going to get into real heavy hitting.
Real heavy hitting. Remember to be real kind.
You be really nice.
Bread and Butter Collective's membership includes the following local businesses: 2% Jazz, Bunny's Kitchen, Buzz Coffee House, Eagle-Ite, Big Wheel Burger, Blue Mountain Solutions, Bodega Tapas Wine Bar, Eva Schnitzel House, Farmsgate Foods and Catering, Victoria Chocolate and Company, Drum Roaster Coffee, Habit Coffee, Foo Asian Street Food, the Culinary Arts Program at Camosun, Cafe Fantastico, Fall Epi, Harold Street Brewworks, Hey Happy, House of Botang, Nikkei Ramen Ya, Jenny Marie's Cracker Company, La Pasta, La Rue Patisserie, Mocha House, Part and Parcel, Poco a Pinto Bar, Pizzeria Prima Strada, Keating Pizza, Roast, Table 9 Consulting, Sherwood Cafe and Bar, Sweets by Selena, The Collective Wine Bar and Kitchen, The Drake, Tapa Bar, The Nimble Bar Company, Ruth and Dean, The Whole Beast, The Wienery, Spoon's Diner, Truffles-inspired catering, and Zambries.
To hear more from the Bread and Butter Collective, go to checknews.ca/podcasts on Check Plus, or find us on your favorite podcasting platform.